Welcome to Overthinking Eurovision. I'm Matt Rather. So, back in January, we decided to try and identify all the rock songs that have competed in Eurovision over the past 31 years. And because there's no objective way to determine what a rock song is, our original idea was to use Spotify and Last.fm tags to identify which songs were rock. In fact, the main reason we limited it to the past 31 years is that it took a lot of time to collect all those tags. But it turns out that while Spotify might have pretty good metadata for mainstream pop hits, most Eurovision songs had tags that were very basic, entirely missing, or filthy lies. Spotify, you may have classified Zero Gravity as piano rock, but we had our doubts. So we set up a survey to have our audience judge the songs on our list we thought might not actually be rock. And then a second survey to weigh in on the rest of the songs on the list. And then a third survey to nominate songs that hadn't been tagged as rock in the first place but should have been. And a final survey to evaluate all the new potential rock songs from the third survey. Hey, are there any kids in the room with you? Because this is a good one. We haven't seen this many long polls since Let 3. First off, thanks a lot to everyone who took the time to respond to these surveys. Each of them had a disclaimer at the beginning about how no one should feel like they have to evaluate every single song, but a disturbing number of people still did. In total, there were 1,614 forms submitted, of which 604 were complete. And now we can definitively say that Spotify is wrong and Zero Gravity is not rock. In fact, of the 316 songs we asked about, Zero Gravity was the least rocky song of all, with less than 2% of people identifying it as rock, whatever that means. Because after reading all the YouTube comments, it's clear that nobody agrees on what rock even is. There are people who don't even count Hard Rock Hallelujah as rock, because to them, any song that is metal can't be rock. On the other hand, producer Matt Belinki steadfastly maintains that the 2011 song from Serbia is one of the greatest Eurovision rock songs of all time. But is retro R&B even rock? Is disco rock? Is whatever Constracta is rock? Some commenters thought we should have provided more guidance, but we were much more interested in what you thought rock was than our own opinions. So if more than 50% of voters said a song should count as rock, then for purposes of this project, we're counting it as rock. While each vote may be just an individual gut feeling, the weight of those hundreds of combined gut feelings might be the closest we can get to a clear answer. So to answer my earlier questions, Hard Rock Hallelujah is definitely rock, Charaban is not, disco is not, and Constracta is not. The song that was just barely deemed rock by the slimmest of margins was Everything, the Greek song from 2006. The tally was 253 for rock, 252 for not rock. As for the song that came the closest to being rock without quite crossing the finish line, sorry, Taxi, The Moon fell 2 votes short. But honestly, can any song that features a pan flute solo ever truly be rock? Now, when we asked people to nominate potential rock songs, producer Matt Belinki made a pretty tempting and not completely thought through offer.
If you can think of a rock song that's not already on our list, and more than 50% of people agree that it is in fact a rock song, I will overthink the song of your choice.
He's going to be a busy boy over the summer because 41 of those nominated songs were certified rock on the final survey. And since many of the songs were suggested multiple times, Matt actually owes the prize to 61 people. Okay, everyone, you ready for the main event? We took the results from those surveys and plugged them into a massive grid. If you want to see it yourself, the link is in the description below. Hey, you gave us the data. The least we can do is let you have access to it. Here's how to read this. The columns are years, and the rows are nations. If a cell is blank, it means the nation didn't participate that year. If a cell says no survey, that means the nation did participate, but we didn't think it was remotely rock and didn't have people vote on its rockiness. Feel free, I guess, to tell us in the comments which songs should absolutely have been on the survey, but be aware that our ability to care about that has been crushed under a mountain of data. The cells on this sheet with a number between 0 and 1 in them are songs that we voted on. The closer to 1 the number is, the more the voters thought the song was rock. Any number over 0.5 counts as a rock song and is highlighted purple. The total count was 117 rock songs as certified by you. That is 11.12% of the total songs that went to Eurovision since 1992. We bolded the winning songs of each year. And on the one hand, you'll notice that the 2 rock songs that won over this time period were 2 of the most memorable winners ever. Hallelujah. But on the other hand, there were only 2 rock winners over 31 years, which isn't great. So the obvious question is, are we dealing with some kind of rock penalty? Do rock songs underperform at Eurovision? And the answer is, sort of. Over our time period, 718 out of 1,052 total songs made it to the finals. That's 68%. Nice-ish. But only 57 of 117 rock songs made it to the finals, which is only 48.7%. However, this doesn't necessarily mean there's a bias against rock. Keep in mind that the semifinals weren't introduced until 2004, and in the 1990s, there was a lot less Eurovision rock in general. So maybe the most likely reason why rock songs appear to qualify less is that they are underrepresented in the years when every song qualified. Looking at just the finals and accounting for the differing number of voting countries each year, the average score for rock songs was only 2 points lower than the score for non-rock songs. And then we did something called Welch's t-test to see if that difference was meaningful, and it's not even close. A p-value of 0.05 or smaller would indicate that rock songs really do perform differently. Here we have a p-value of 0.7. That's like the p-value you might expect when asking if green M&Ms give you better eyesight. However, while the average scores are about the same, you can see that the upper limit and the outlier values are higher for the non-rock songs on the left. So maybe it's fair to say that while rock songs perform similarly to other songs on average, it's less likely for them to end up at the very top of the scoreboard. Okay, are you ready for our least surprising revelation? Finland has a reputation of rocking hard at Eurovision, and now we have the numbers to prove it. Over the past 31 years, Finland has sent 8 total rock songs. That includes 2021, 2022, and 2023. This is double the number of rock songs from any other nation. But what about rock songs as a total percentage of songs sent? After all, there are nations that have participated a lot less often than Finland, so they could have a higher rock percentage with fewer songs. It turns out Finland wins that way, too. 30.77% of its songs have been rock, but Slovakia was a surprisingly close second place. They've only participated 7 times, but 2 of those songs were rock. Now, let's look at the data not by nation, but by year. As you can see, there are 2 big surges of rock, one in the late noughties and another happening right now. In fact, 2023 is the second most rockinest year we have data for. 10 of the songs this year are rock, 27% of the total. But that still pales in comparison to 2007, a year in which 1 in 3 songs were rock. So what explains these peaks? Our guess is that these are the direct result of Lordi and Måneskin winning. After these victories launched the 2 bands to stardom, a lot of other rock artists suddenly got interested in Eurovision. And it makes sense that in 2007 we would see such a big spike, because before Lordi, there was absolutely nothing to suggest that a band with any kind of real rock sensibility could succeed at Eurovision. Yes, we know that Katrina and the Waves won the contest in 1997, and they're definitely a rock band, Google says so. But guess what? Love Shine a Light was not a rock song, according to our survey. Hard Rock Hallelujah, on the other hand, was very much rock. And if Lordi could win, then suddenly a lot of other bands that wouldn't have ever dreamed of Eurovision before 2006 started singing a different tune. And here are those tunes. And the rock renaissance we're seeing this year is a smaller version of the same thing. After Måneskin won, they were opening for the Rolling Stones by the end of the year. And as we discussed in our Austria video, there are fewer and fewer ways for a band to break through to a mainstream audience in the Spotify playlist era. We're betting a lot of the bands of the class of 2023 are here now because they hope Zitti e Buoni was the start of a trend and not just a very sexy black swan. Finally, here's a fun question. Which Eurovision songs rock the hardest? All we have to do is look at our survey results to see which songs have the numbers closest to 1, meaning that nearly everyone deemed them rock. And congratulations, Måneskin, you did the impossible and dethroned Lordi as the hardest rocking band in Eurovision history. Rounding out the top 5, we've got the Rasmus from last year, Voyager from this year, and Blind Channel from 2021. Nobody should be surprised at this point to see that 3 out of those 5 songs come from the rock and roll Valhalla, that is, Finland. But you know what kind of makes us happy? Expand the list to the top 10 songs. Hey, Intelligent Music Project, you finally made it to the top of a leaderboard. Bulgaria was the butt of many jokes for their supergroup of old 80s rock musicians playing a song written by doctor and businessman Milan Vibrevsky. But you know what? This may not be a good rock song, but it certainly is a rock song. And that's something. It's interesting that looking at the 10 most rockin' songs, 6 of them are from just the past few years. One explanation is that Eurovision actually does have harder rock songs now than ever before, but we think that people's idea of what rock sounds like changes with the times. The voters on these surveys are more likely to judge a song to be rock if it sounds like other rock songs they listen to. Some of these songs from the 90s, like Love Shine a Light, may have been clear rock songs to audiences at the time, but 30 years later, they sound very different from our contemporary idea of what rock is. And when they get put on a survey alongside modern rock songs, they just sound like pop now. Well, gang, that's everything we noticed. But you've got all the data now, so take a look. And if you see anything else interesting, let us know in the comments. Thanks again to everyone who answered the surveys. We'll have to think of something else to ask you all soon. Until then, keep on rockin' in the old world. We'll see you next time. Keep on rockin' in the old world. ChatGPT, write me a Weird Al style song parody.